So today we start because we all do this for one purpose. And that one purpose is our soldiers in the field. We should not forget that. And therefore, I'm actually very happy that each day we do have an operational speaker that brings reality to what we do. And today that will be actually the commander of the NATO CIS group, and at the same time the DCOS for cyber and command and control at SHAPE. So he's doing that work for Secure. Franz, General Thomas Franz. And Thomas and I work very closely together because the agency and the NATO CIS group is actually a single service provider for the operational community in two organizations. But the two organizations are very much linked. Where we are the static element, the NATO CIS group brings all the data and the security to the field to deployed units. And this is really a very strong way of collaborating in the cyber environment, in the operational environment. So Thomas started in the studying something that I really don't understand fully, but it's economics and business activities in the Military University of Hamburg. I didn't know that you could do that on a military university, but in Germany apparently you can. Then went into the Air Force, became a CIS officer, did all the commands in the ranks from platoon up to now basically the NATO CIS group, which is basically the ultimate CIS, deployed CIS organization. And in that huge career, he now basically brings all the CIS and cyber elements for Secure and basically covers all NATO operations. So Thomas, thank you very much for being here and reminding us on why we do this and why we need to have a secure environment, deployable, and make sure that our soldiers in the field can do their work. The floor is yours.
Kun, thank you very much for your kind introduction. And before I start to talk a little bit about cyber defense, I think it might be good if I really can, and what is true, I can confirm our wonderful cooperation we have with regard to alliance operations and missions. That works pretty good. Yeah, then good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Kun, thank you very much for inviting me today. As already mentioned, beside my duties as commander of the NATO CIS group, I'm the DCOS CS and Cyber Defense at SHAPE, and indeed, it is a great pleasure for me to attend this year's NIAS. I have no doubt that NIAS helped you gain a better understanding of NATO's role in cyberspace and get updated and the latest technologies that our industry partners are developing. For me, it is the interaction with all the attendees that makes this a more memorable event every year. In 2015, 15 billion devices will be connected to the internet. That's quite a big figure. In 2020, this number could reach 40 to 75 billions. I'm sure many of you have heard countless speeches and articles written about the so-called digital Pearl Harbor and how a massive attack is imminent on our digital networks. I, for one, do not subscribe to this story. You may ask why. The reason is simple. The digital Pearl Harbor makes an incorrect assumption in that the digital world is a calm sea and no attacks are happening. Those of us involved intimately in CIS and cyber defense know that it is far from accurate. Our CIS is in a constant state of being attacked. Many of these attacks are low-level probes, probably launched by hackers or script kiddies using automated tools who are trying to find vulnerabilities. We have learned to effectively defend against these. We experience other more sophisticated attacks that use spear phishing, viruses, malware, and Trojans to establish a foothold on our networks. Again, we have fairly good experience in dealing with these. We are also in a continual state of defense, vigilance, and surveillance to detect and defeat more sophisticated attackers who either try to disrupt our CIS systems or who try to remove information from our systems. So I do not subscribe to the calm seas model of cyberspace. Cyberspace is already home to many bad actors, and our job is to ensure these bad actors are not able to disrupt NATO military operations. Several years ago, the US authorities detected a sophisticated malware attack on the Nasdaq stock exchange. Although the detection occurred 4 years ago, the details of the event were only released a few weeks ago. Malicious code was inserted using zero-day vulnerabilities into the Nasdaq central services. It was first assessed that the intruder was not an amateur, but most likely another country's intelligence agency. The malicious code could very easily have been used to destroy some of the very valuable data, to sabotage Nasdaq, to spy on it in order to replicate its capabilities. Even from a cybercriminality perspective, the intrusion offered amazing possibilities. However, whoever was behind the attack could have accumulated an instant future. Yet, after 4 years of investigation, neither the attribution issue nor the motive behind the attack could be solved. The latest public information indicates that this highly sophisticated attack was likely orchestrated by cyber criminals and may not have been state-sponsored. The real chilling conclusion is that in this sort of environment, even the most powerful are vulnerable and will have a difficult task in determining who is attacking their networks. The Nasdaq attack showed us how a sophisticated attack was carried out. The second story I want to share shows how a recent brute force attack caused problems to Norwegian financial services companies. At the beginning of July 2014, the news broke that Norway's central bank had been hit by a DDoS attack. Later that day, a number of Norwegian financial institutions and the country's largest telecommunications provider also reported that they had been hit by the same type of attack. Though this was a brute force DDoS attack, the sophistication lay in the synchronized nature of the attack. Again, the attribution remains unclear, but a hacker group has claimed responsibility. This time, the design of the attack was very simple, as the head of the Norwegian National Security Authority put it. I quote, "It requires neither computer skills nor hacking experience to carry out a DDoS attack. It is possible to carry out using only a credit card and the will to destroy." So let's focus a bit on the military aspects of cyberspace. Based on the two examples I used, it is only fair to assume that our networks are susceptible to a variety of threats and actors. The military needs to operate in this contested and at times chaotic domain. Military organizations are heavily reliant on CIS for activities, whether it is for command and control purposes or for the simple use of the latest weapon system. The cyberspace has added a new dimension to military activities in warfare. The actions that take place in cyberspace can sometimes be described as cyberwarfare, and it is a game changer as cybersecurity not only permeates all aspects of military activities, but also affects all aspects of the life of a modern society. Many military theorists firmly believe that cyberspace is the fifth and newest domain of warfare, co-equal with land, air, sea, and space. However, I must note that cyberspace is possibly the hardest to monitor and control. Work is ongoing in defining a good working model how the military can and should operate in cyberspace. Perhaps many of the academics in our audience can help in that effort. But until the Clausewitz-like theory of cyber warfare emerges, we in NATO will continue to work on the practical methods of operating and defending in the new domain. Let me go briefly into NATO's cyber defense framework. I'm sure, of course, you are all aware NATO's essential purpose is to safeguard the freedom and security of its members through political and military means. As a collective defense organization, NATO's fundamental cyber defense responsibility is to defend its own networks. Also, NATO recognizes that international law, including international humanitarian law and the United Nations Charter, applies in cyberspace. The technical execution of NATO's cyber defense lies with the NCI agency. In this framework, Allied Command Operations, led by Secure, is one of the NCI agency's key customers. The resilience of ACO networks, the robustness of the command and control component of military operations depends on the quality of integration of ACO military expertise and the agency's technical excellence. During a crisis situation, NATO's military force must be able to operate in a contested and degraded cyber environment. Since modern warfare is so dependent on robust CIS, NATO's cyber defense capabilities have to be focused on enabling Secure to lead military operations in this contested environment. If NATO's military structure is asked to go into combat, despite our best efforts, it is unlikely we will be able to defend against all the anticipated and unanticipated cyber attacks. So, ACO's challenge is to prepare our field commanders and units to be able to operate in a degraded or contested cyber environment. How do we do that? The answer is multifaceted. First, we develop our operational plans taking into account that portions of cyberspace may be unavailable to use during combat operations. To take a very simple example, if an air traffic control facility at a very busy combat airfield experiences a cyber attack which disrupts its radars and automated air traffic scheduling systems, our operational plans would state what type of backup manual processes need to be implemented in order to keep combat air operations going at that airfield. Restoral of the actual systems would be a secondary concern. Second, we develop exercise scenarios which test the operational plans and how well our Joint Task Force commander is able to keep operations going despite cyber attacks. Third, and perhaps the most challenging to implement, is that throughout the military command structure, cyber needs to be considered an operational domain and not just as a support function. This underlying foundation is critical developing a modern military and in conducting modern warfare. Up to this point, I have presented the current state of affairs regarding cyberspace and NATO's involvement in cyberspace. I am not a pessimistic man by nature. However, there are a few areas in cyberspace that do cause me concern as I try to look to 2020 and beyond. First, the eventual widespread implementation of IP version 6 has often been showcased as the harbinger of wonderful things to come. IP version 6 will provide an astronomically large address space and ability to put an IP address on everything from our appliances to cars and even down to our individual clothing. The media portrays this upcoming era as the Internet of Things. To me, this upcoming era is better termed era of uncontrolled vulnerabilities. Each device embedded with a new IP version 6 address presents an attack surface or an attack vector for a potential adversary. The larger the number of devices that are connected to the Internet, the larger the potential threat, and we will never be able to stop this technology momentum. The utility gained by using these devices will force them to be incorporated into military networks. So we need to develop technology and procedures to deal with this upcoming tidal wave of devices. Industry needs to step up and help address this issue by building secure devices to start with so they cannot be attacked, and if they are attacked, those devices should not be able to be used as a platform for other attacks. Industry also needs to help develop better defenses against attacks launched from the Internet of Things devices. Second, as the Internet grows, getting a better situational awareness picture of our CIS and cyber defenses is critical. Unfortunately, there are not really any good open standards and how all the myriad of CIS and cyber defense devices share and communicate information from their sensors. We need industry to help not only improve these devices and the sensors on the devices, but to also develop open standards so a more robust common operating picture for cyber can be developed for our military, civilian, and commercial networks. This will not only help individual organizations, but it will also help secure the larger Internet from the damaging behavior of bad actors. Third is something I mentioned briefly previously. We need the academics in the audience to begin collaborating in developing theories about the use of cyberspace that can be used by cyber strategists. We need to grow the cyber Clausewitz, the cyber Mahan, the cyber way. Cyberspace is an operational domain unlike land, sea, or air. We need our own cyber theorists and to help propel this domain to a new level. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience and your attention.
Thomas, thank you very much. It's, you know, we can make a very good bridge between your discussion about open standards and actually the next presentation, which I will do. But thank you very much for being here. And,
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay.